So we're going to jump straight in because 8 minutes goes quickly. Welcome to the iArticulate YouTube channel. This is the 8-minute window. Join us each week in our exploration of leadership. While it takes time to master, the 8-minute window is an encouragement that can take just a few minutes to learn a technique that might last you a lifetime. For all the reasons, we'd love it if you could like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. Today, we're learning from Anastasia Kiku, recently named in Forbes 30 Under 30 for social impact. Anastasia and her co-founder have turned their passion into purpose, building a community with a vision of the world without waste. Anastasia shares with us how her family history, challenges running a startup, and even her ski racing background have shaped her as a leader. And this story really proves that many different experiences can become powerful tools for leadership success, no matter what field we're working in. So get ready to be inspired and learn how to turn reflective practice into impactful leadership in just 8 minutes. Welcome to the 8-minute window. Welcome, Anastasia Kiku, to the 8-minute window. It is fantastic to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited for this.
My first question is about leadership. What does leading mean to you, and how do you practice leadership?
That's a great question. I think for me, over time, what leadership means has evolved, and the latest iteration in my understanding of it is really about authenticity, really tapping into your values, your unique perspective, your skills. Starting a company out of university, being like 22 years old, an immigrant, tens of thousands of kilometers away from your family, and having the responsibility of starting something new, leading an organization, also being in charge of whether it's funds or people who are older than you and have more experience. That was quite a turbulent time trying to navigate that. And for a long time, I thought that there is a right way to be a leader and there's a wrong way to be a leader. And I was trying to figure out, like, what is the right way? What can I do to get there? And then only over time, it became obvious that everyone has a unique leadership style, and you're the most successful as a leader when you tap into your unique leadership style and really lead with authenticity. For sure. I think imposter syndrome is something I've experienced a lot and still do. And even, for example, this year, getting the Forbes 30 Under 30 award is pretty crazy. I don't think like you really get away from that, but the only thing you can control is how you react to it. So for me, like whatever the challenges are, the thing I've worked on is making sure I have a reasonable reaction to it. And kind of like in my head, the pep talk I gave myself is that like don't let it get to your head. It doesn't really matter. The real work is still ahead of you, and just like focus on one step at a time. Like, just because someone said you have a good title or gave you an award, like it doesn't mean you've achieved all your goals and you really know where you want to be, and you're still not there. So keep doing that.
Yeah, that was a really impressive answer. So much there, and actually that Forbes 30 Under 30 really takes us nicely into the second question. So can you tell us a little bit about the philosophy that you're following with reusables.com and how you're trying to show leadership within that industry?
Yeah, I love the question. I think really the core philosophy we're trying to embody is the idea of not wasting anything. For me personally, the philosophy comes from kind of like two main areas. So one of them is one of my grandmas who survived the Second World War and lived in located St. Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, in Russia. And she was telling me the stories of how during the blockade, the only ration of food they got was 100 grams of bread daily. So 100 grams of bread, that's not a lot of food, but millions of people have survived for over 3 years with that little food. So it really put in perspective is when we have limited resources and we can be mindful about them and think about how you extend those to last you a really long time, you can actually make do for a really long time. And then kind of the current society and the way we've set up capitalism, consumerism, globalism, all those things, it's largely about using the resources, pretending we have infinite resources, using them for very little, throw it away, producing more. So that's part of the kind of like philosophy that my grandma instilled in me that is implied in reusables right now as well. And then the other part was my education through University of British Columbia. I was studying operations and logistics, and a lot of those frameworks were about optimizing systems, optimizing, again, resources, supply chains, whatever it is. So that's kind of like the two parts that link to this philosophy of let's not waste time, let's not waste resources, let's not waste capital, and just build really efficient systems.
Let me ask you a question. If you could choose to take your entire team anywhere for a day, where would you take them and why?
Honestly, I'm tempted to say Lausanne just because it's such a beautiful place and fun memories. But yeah, the other place I was thinking is just Russia, funny enough. And I think it's just kind of like putting it in perspective. I think majority of my team members are from North America. So North Americans, I think a lot of them have never traveled outside the continent or are used to kind of like developed Western world. And I think seeing the contrast and really understanding how a different part of the world lives would be really beneficial to them. One of the concepts that reusables is based around and like includes in a lot of its decision making is largely systems thinking. So systems thinking is just about understanding how all different things are linked together and essentially creating a sense of the world. So I think for a lot of my team members, seeing a very different reality, both socially, economically, from all the perspectives, yeah, it would be really beneficial. Honestly, that was one of the reflections from last year, and I just realized how like a tremendous power of consistency and compounding effect. I think I've been in periods of life where we had like ambitious goals and you were trying to really go hard and like make all those things happen within a month, but then you feel burnout after some time because it's just really not sustainable. And then over the last year, I shifted my approach and kind of like developed, I think, a more sustainable plan where you're just trying to do your best every single day. And some days doing your best means being 30% of your capacity. Some days it means being 120. But essentially, it just like gave me permission, I guess, to try my best. And looking back, I think that's where a lot of the success and a lot of progress did come from. It's just like never getting to a point where you are burnt out and have to recover, but really putting maximum effort you can every single day. So I know maybe it doesn't really answer your question about specific practice, but I would encourage everyone to think about kind of like it's a marathon, not a sprint. What are some of the really consistent routines, habits, processes, practices you can implement to really incrementally get closer to your goal over time?
Your experiences on a ski team, does that involve any of these leadership concepts, or is that maybe where you started learning some of these leadership skills, perhaps? And could you describe that briefly?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, it's kind of funny because often when I get asked those questions, like, what are some of the courses in university that helped you the most, or what are some of the experiences? Like, it's never formal education that really prepares you for something like this. But I think a lot of the time spent on teams, traveling, taking care of like your 11-year-old self, taking care of your 5-year-old brother, trying to like navigate foreign languages in foreign countries when you're like 80 years old. I think those are the experiences that really prepare you for something like this. So yeah, from ski racing, I think the really key takeaways were teamwork, responsibility, and also accountability, and kind of like the concept that I mentioned, like of consistency. So for training, again, like it takes years of effort to get to the form or to like the performance you want to get. So consistency was really important. And then at the same time, even though skiing is an individual sport in the sense that like you're in the start gate, it's just your time. It didn't feel like an individual sport. We're often parts of teams. You're often like part of really big groups. So when it comes to leadership, I think that experience of leaning onto people, kind of like trying to elevate everyone together, knowing that we individually succeed only if the team succeeds and if there's strong morale, Yeah, those are some of the lessons I think I've taken into the entrepreneurship journey. So for any of you listening, if you are at a university or have a contact with a university in North America, so Canada and the US, and you would love them to reduce their single-use packaging waste, please feel free to let them know to get in touch with me, and we'll make sure they avoid packaging waste.
Thank you so much for joining us in the 8-minute window. Until next time, stay inspired, stay focused, and please get in touch to let us know how your leadership journey is developing. If you're passionate about sustainability and the future of our world as a waste-free society, visit reusables.com and get involved. Until next time.